Okay? All right, so we'll begin. We're actually beginning Perek Sheni Pirkei Avot, continuing on with the transmission of the Torah. Not only the Torah Shebichtav, now we're actually going to meet Rabbi. Rabbi is Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, who is the one that put together the Torah Sheba'al Peh. In other words, the oral world. He actually documented it. He wrote it down, after which there were discussions called the Gemara. So he's a very important figurehead in this chain of transmission. And of course, he was a very, very well-known individual. 7 generations, I believe, after he led Azaken, direct descendant. And a lot of what he said, of course, is very significant, not only because of who he was, but for the fact, for this very important fact that he represents a very important part of this transmission of the Torah. So Rabbi Omer in Mishnah Aleph, he tells us, Eizu derech yeshara sheyavor lo ha'adam. He asks that in life is short. We have so many years to live our life, and sometimes we're troubled, we're confused, we hesitate as to which path to take, which career to embark on. What should we do? The big question is, of course, is there any way to know? Because sometimes a person likes more than one thing. Is there any way to know for sure which one is the right one? Now here he's not necessarily talking about careers. He says derech. Eizu derech yeshara, which path is the correct one? But he doesn't just say Eizu derech she'avor lo adam, he says Eizu derech yeshara, which is a very interesting additional detail. Which path is the straight path? Straight path? Why do I need to know about a straight path? Yes, because we want to get to our destination. We want to fulfill our mission. We want to accomplish something, and we want to do it right. There's a lot of things people can do, but not everything is right. Not everything is right for us. So here he says, he composes the question in a very, very interesting way, and you have to pay attention to the choice of words too. It's not just a question, what should you choose for yourself? How do you go about choosing? It's a big topic, because part of it has to do with the fact that Hashem conducts us and leads us to where we need to be. So when it comes to certain aspects of our life, what we will end up doing, the source of income and the like, that is really directly dependent on one's mazal, and Hashem pretty much directs the mazal. Derech Yeshara is much more, therefore, a general question, not so much that it has to do with how will I make money, but the path of life. What should I emphasize? What should I search? What should I care about? Spiritually wise, in other words, which way of life is correct for me? Obviously, if somebody is not very observant, very religious, he may be asking the question from a different angle. He may want to know what's going to make me happy. Well, that's not what this question is all about. What's going to make you happy? What's going to make Hashem happy? That's more important, right? We are His servants. So obviously we want to be happy too, but we want to make sure that everybody else is happy too. See, that's the key to this question. Is it's not only about myself, it's about me in this big picture. Where do I fit in the big picture, not what I want? So, Eizu derech yeshara sheyavor lo adam, what is the right path that a person should choose for himself? That's the translation of the words. What's the answer? Kol she tiferet le'oseha or le'osah v'tiferet lo min ha'adam. Whatever is beautiful, whatever is befitting him and befitting or beneficial min ha'adam. In other words, with people. In other words, people will appreciate what he does. People will enjoy it. People will benefit from what he does. In other words, it's not only something that is beneficial for me, something that looks good on me, it's something that people see as good as well. Very important idea, very, very important idea is that in choosing a path, in choosing a career, and really in choosing almost anything that has to do with, that will involve you with this world, with people, make sure that you choose something that is looked upon properly by others, not only by yourself. Another way of explaining the answer to the question of Rabbi is the pasuk that in Mishlei, that one should strive for, one's goal should be Umtza chen v'sechel tov b'nei Elokim ve'adam. Always strive to find favor and grace in the eyes of God and human beings. Make sure you have a good reputation down here below. Make sure they like you up there. Conduct yourself in such a way that you won't have antagonism. In other words, on the contrary, people will have something good to say about you. So whatever you do, it's not just work, but wherever you are involved, always figure you're not alone. You're being looked at by others. You're not a hermit. You know what a hermit is, right? You're not by yourself. You're exposed to the entire world. You're being seen. So therefore, make certain that what you choose for yourself, what you're about to do, even if it's a job, a particular project, that it should be something befitting to you, obviously that you enjoy, that you like, that it looks good upon you, but that it also is something looked upon good by others. That is a simple translation of the words. Now we're going to get into a little bit more detail. He uses the word derech yeshara, as we said before, because the idea here is about a straight path, a path that leads somewhere, a path that's going to get me to where I want to go. It's a derech yeshara. I want the derech yeshara. I don't want to go through back alleys, which may be dead end. In life, there's a lot of ways of doing all kinds of things. Whether it's giving charity, there are various ways of giving charity. Let's take, for example, giving charity as a project, or it's a mitzvah. One way to do it is to give very, very little, to be stingy about it, but to give, or to not give, of course. And another way is to give a lot. In other words, you have two extremes, a pazran and a kamsan. Pazran is a spender, a kamsan is stingy, miserly sometimes. So you have two extremes of a particular way of conduct, of giving, whether it's charity or or chesed. The Rambam says neither of them is good. These types of conducts, these two ways, if you want to call them, are extremes, and they're not acceptable. They're not good. They're not healthy. Neither of them. And he takes it one step further. Nothing that's in the extreme is usually good. Therefore, always choose the middle road, he says, when it comes to midot, in general character traits, when it comes to general deeds. Obviously, you want to learn a lot of Torah. But everything, try to manage your affairs in a way which is, as we say in Arabic, and I think it's very similar in Farsi, mutawassit. Mutawassit, something like that in Farsi? Yeah? Mutawassit. You know what that means? Yeah? You also know?
Yeah.
Average, middle of the road, no extremes. Why? Because you can't go wrong. The middle of the road is always the safe way. The extremes are no good. There's no reason to be extreme. Be normal. Sleep normal. Don't deprive yourself of sleep. Don't sleep too much. right? Almost nothing. Think about it. Almost nothing is good that is an extreme. This derech, the middle road, is a derech yeshara. It is a straight path. You're not swerving to the right or to the left. If you swerve a little bit, what could happen? It could hurt you. So, the extremes are risky. How are they risky? Well, if you give too much money for tzedakah, everybody will be happy, but you will lose out. You may become penniless. There have been people like that, and stories like that. So that's an example of the people benefiting, but not you. If you're a kamsan, right? If you're a chasis, right? You are the one that may be benefiting and gaining. You're keeping the money to yourself, but then everybody else will not look upon it very, very good. So you see, as an example, tzedakah, you can see that neither of the two extremes is going to work well. It's going to work out well. Rabbi, in telling us that it needs to be tiferet lo. It has to be something that is becoming of him, that it brings beauty to him, and that people see it as something beautiful and nice and correct. It cannot be, therefore, itnazrut. Itnazrut, I forget the English word for it, means that a person is conducting himself in a very ascetic fashion. You know what asceticism is? When he deprives himself of all the pleasures in the world. Doesn't get married, doesn't drink, doesn't, Nazirim. Nazirim, like the monks. So itnazut means to basically completely deprive yourself of everything there is in this world because you want to be pure. The Torah is against that. The rabbis tell us, be careful with going on this path. But what's wrong? You want to be a malach. Guess what? You're not a malach. No matter what you do, you should not think of being a malach. If you want to be a malach, then you belong upstairs. Here, human beings live over here. You want to be a holy human being? Then sanctify the deeds that you perform. But perform those deeds. Get married. Perform a marriage of sanctity. In other words, live a life of sanctity. Kedoshim tiyu. The Torah tells us, be holy. Holiness is very special. Holiness means that you don't go to extremes. Holiness means that you don't exaggerate. Holiness means that you just take the bare necessity of what you need, whether it's to eat, whether it's to spend on yourself. You are making yourself holy means you are elevating yourself above that which is very physical, like animals. After all, we're half souls. So that, yes, that a lot of tzaddikim Baruch Hashem achieved, because they knew their priorities, they recognized the derech, they wanted to arrive safe at the destination, so they knew how to keep out of trouble. Yes, avoid this, because it will interfere with a life of kedusha. And Hashem wants us to be holy, because He is holy. He wants us to be different than the rest of the world. So He wants us to conduct ourselves in a certain way. But even then, there may be a tendency to go to an extreme. There are people who are strict by nature. There are people who are just more kabdanim, more machmirim, strict. They demand more of themselves. Come on, don't overdo it. I forget the word for people who are over clean, very clean.
Clean freak?
No. They have this.
Phobia?
No, it's not so much a phobia. It's they're just very, very particular about everything. All kinds of things. There's all kinds of these extremities. Whether being slim, they have to be very, very skinny. All kinds of extremes. They're no good. It's not healthy. Where does it say that you should be like that? Some people need help. They really have this problem. They go crazy, So they do actually need help. Yes?
So what would you say to the ultra-Orthodox individuals in Israel and the Haredim and their communities that go to the extreme? You say that's not...
Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly out there. In every group, you have leftists who are extreme. You have rightists who are extreme. You have religious extreme. You have seculars who are extreme. They're called Kanaim. not good Kanaim. Kanaim could be something good, a zealot for the good thing. But we're talking about zealots who are crazy. There are those too in every society. It's a psychological problem too sometimes.
But Eliyahu Rabbi was a zealot.
That was for a good cause.
He was a loner. He never.
No, he was only a loner because it takes courage as well. It takes awareness of the problem. It takes courage, right, and determination. Not everybody had that. Now you may ask me, why not? That's a good question. Not that there would not have been more. There's always a potential for. How could it be there's only one? A good question. The answer is because the vast majority of them were unfortunately stooped in the Tum'ah to a certain extent. Not everyone, but some of them. When you tolerate certain things in society, you think you will have the strength, the courage to protest against it, even though you know it's wrong? No, because you've tolerated it. You've lived with it. Oh, just leave him alone. No, it's wrong, you got to say something. But when you are not that strong-minded about something, when you've tolerated it in the past, Chet HaEgel, it was tolerated by many, many Jews, unfortunately. That's why Hashem was so upset. You should have at least protested, even though you didn't partake. I'm upset at you because you tolerated, you didn't say anything. That means you will become weak in the very near future because you've tolerated. You see something wrong, you got to protest it. Otherwise, you are a partner to the crime, in a sense.
But if the person feels they can't make a difference or a change,
still, you got to protest.
But can he separate himself from it?
Yes, if he separates, that's fine. He should do that too, depending on the circumstances, what that thing is. Depending what it is, right? So you don't, even in that case, you don't want to go to the extreme. Oh, Rambam does say if everybody's bad, just go live in a cave. Right? And sometimes it feels like that's what we need to do, right? But obviously, we're not on that level, and the circumstances are very different today. But he gives us that example just to remind us how the environment is very, very, can very much affect us. So get away from it. Or in the meantime, protest or say whatever you can to those who at least who will listen, even though they may not do what you say, but at least they will listen to you and won't hit you, right? Yes, because otherwise you get caught in it. So that's why Eliyahu was unique, that he was pure in that sense. He wasn't the only one. Of course, Moshe Rabbeinu was pure. Of course, others were also pure, but he actually had the zeal. It's a quality, he had the clarity, of acting at the time of a very challenging time. When we are faced with a challenge, we don't always react right away. We sometimes stupefy. We don't know what to do. We freeze. Yeah. He didn't freeze. It was partly to do with his personality, his character. But obviously, Min HaShamayim, they helped him, and he was successful. And that was a very important lesson for the rest of us, that whenever you're faced with something like that, don't just sit back. So we have to be careful not to exaggerate anything, even holiness, to the point of where we want to become malachim. That's not our goal. We didn't come down here to be malachim. We came down here to be human beings, but to be holy human beings. The main idea behind the words of Rabbi, in a nutshell, is in life, when you're about to do something, don't just think about yourself. Consider other people's feelings, consider what everybody else will say. If you want to succeed, that means if you want to go b'derech hamelech, b'derech hayeshara. Now, let's take an example where a person thinks more about himself and does not consider the whole picture. Let's take again with tzedakah. We have here a very generous man. No extremes. There's a big fundraising event. And he wants to donate, but he wants to do it anonymously. Now that's beautiful. That's called matan baseter. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's no good. When is matan baseter, to give anonymously, not good? If you don't give, nobody else will give. Well, he's not giving. And if you give, you may actually encourage others to give. So what's more kidai here? What is the proper thing to do? Well, if you think about others and you don't think only about yourself, then you will forget about being anonymous in that case, at that moment. See what I mean? So that's a good example of really taking in the whole picture, considering everything, not just what's tiferet for you, what's beautiful for you, but what would be beneficial, or what would be looked upon good by everybody else. What's also interesting about the words that Rabbi uses is he uses the word sheyavor. Sheyavor means to select. Let's call it to select in English. Why doesn't it say sheyivchar? Sheyivchar means to choose. He uses a very, very uncommon word, by the way. That's a very uncommon word. Sheyavor lo ha'adam. You won't see it. You barely will see it. Sheyivchar lo. You always use livchor. Livchor, if you look at the shoresh of the verb livchor, is a bechira. Bechira means my choice, mine, what I like for myself. I choose, I have a whole mixture of things here, and I choose what I like, and I leave everything else behind. That's called livchor. Yavor comes from the root livror, borer. On Shabbat, if you learn to Chot Shabbat, you recall that there's two kinds of borer. One is to choose the good from the bad. One is to choose the bad from the good. You don't, oh, this I don't want. So you start taking out. There's a whole jar of peanuts, raisins, and chocolate chips. Oh, I don't want the raisins. So you can't take it out on Shabbat. You cannot be borer with that which you do not want. You could take that which you want. Okay, but don't be borer, even if you do it with your hand. Don't be borer that which you don't want when it's all mixed. When it's all mixed together, it's a form of borer. If it's not really mixed, then you don't, and you can push certain things aside. You don't have to take certain things. It all depends. I mean, you can peel an orange because you're getting to the fruit, even though you don't want to peel. It all depends on exactly what we're talking about. So here he's saying borer, not bocher. Why? Because of the same idea we said before. It's not about you. It's not about choosing something that you want. It's about choosing something which is good for everyone. How do you do that? By being borer. You're allowed to, and you should, and it will help you to eliminate the bad and not to choose the good. Choosing good, of course, but you don't always know what's good. You see, if you are in the habit of being bocher for you, to choose for you, you may make a mistake. Why? Because you're not objective. A human being is not objective. He says, this is good. I'm telling you it's good. Yeah, but it's only good for you. It's not good for everybody else. You see what I mean? Choosing for yourself what's good may not be fully objective. But if you are borer, what you're doing is, I'm eliminating that which is no good. That attitude is easier in arriving at the right derech, because you're interested in eliminating that which is no good. So he's saying, Eizu derech yeshara sheyavor lo adam. You want to reach the derech hayeshara. It's a good idea to make sure you eliminate that which is no good. This is no good. This is a criminal offense. This is something that will lead to lashon hara machloket. So you remove that which is no good. You're borer. That will help get to the derech hayeshara. Okay, next point that Rabbi tells us, Ve'eve zahir b'mitzvah kala kebachamura. Be as careful with what appears to you as being a very light mitzvah, very small mitzvah, then as you are careful with very serious mitzvot. You know, there are some mitzvot that appear to us as being, man, this is nothing. And some mitzvot that we think are much more serious. You think you know, but you don't know. Take, for example, shiluach haken. You know what shiluach haken is? Sending off the mother bird. You see some kosher birds, not yours, not in your yard, but somewhere in the field. You send off the mother birds. You take the cheeks, or you leave them, or you don't have to, but you send off the mother bird. Easy, right? Now, What would you say about kibud avayim, honoring your parents? Hard. To be careful with all the halachot, it's a difficult mitzvah. Guess what? I have some news to tell you. On these two, the easy and the hard one, it says the same reward. V'arachta yamim. Long life. Whether it means in this world, in the world to come, or both, that's the definition, but it's the same reward. Here you're thinking this is easy, this is hard. Guess what? Same. As far as the Torah tells us, we don't really know what the exact reward for any mitzvah is. The Torah never specified. Why? One of the reasons the Torah does not specify the reward is so that we should not choose the ones that are more rewarding and not choose the ones that are less rewarding. That's one of the reasons. There's a beautiful mashal in the Midrash of a king that had a big orchard with many fruits. Avocados, mangoes, tangerines, all the major fruits. And he hired workers to pick the fruit. Some worked on this tree, some worked on that tree. At the end of the day, he called them over, so tell me, where did you work? Well, I worked on the avocados, you get $5 an hour. I worked on the mangoes, you get $10 an hour. So the guy who picked the avocado says, Your Honor, why didn't you tell me you paid $10 for mango picking? I would have picked the mangoes, not the avocados. He says, that's exactly the point. Everybody would want to pick only the good paying trees. I want my whole orchard picked. I want all the fruits to be picked. If I would start telling you which one I pay more, the job is not going to be done. Hashem doesn't want to tell us which one pays more. He wants all the mitzvot to be fulfilled. Besides that, a person cannot truly evaluate the erech, the value of a mitzvah. He doesn't have that ability. He thinks this is small, this is big. We don't really have that ability. We don't even know what the reward for a mitzvah really is. We don't have even an idea of because the reward is not paid in this world. As opposed to lo ta'aseh, when it comes to the prohibitions, the Torah gives us some idea. Some transgressions get sekilah. Some transgressions get serefah. Some transgressions get henek. Some transgressions get whips, lashing. In other words, we have some idea of which one is more serious when it comes to prohibitions, but when it comes to positive commandments, Hashem intentionally did not want to let us know. And besides, we wouldn't be able to appreciate it. We wouldn't really know. We have no idea how great the reward is. So, therefore, he tells us, be careful with the small ones as you are with the strict ones. First of all, you don't know the reward. Besides not knowing the reward, you don't want to be mezalzel. You don't want to be disrespectful of mitzvot. What you think is something not so important, that shows disrespect. This doesn't matter as much. This one next time I'll do. So therefore, be as careful so that you show that you are sincere, that you are devoted, that you care. If you're going to start distinguishing, if a Jew Chaz v'Shalom makes a differentiation between mitzvot, that shows utter disrespect. Why is it utter disrespect? Because every mitzvah is a tzivui haboreh. Every mitzvah is a commandment from Hashem. All of it are commandments. So to start being choosy is a form of disrespect. Now, besides the performance of the mitzvah, what people don't realize, that two people can do the same mitzvah, and upstairs they're going to be rewarded differently, because you know what? Other than the performance of the mitzvah, you have the machshava, the thoughts, the kavanah, the intention, the ma'amatz, the effort that was put in. Every movement that contributed to the performance of the mitzvah is calculated, is considered, is weighed. We have no ability to figure all these things out, how each one performed the mitzvah. This one did it better than the other one. This one was not religious. He grew up in a family that was secular, and he still did it. Of course he's going to receive the reward, much more reward than the other one, who was spoon-fed the Torah, who grew up with it. To him it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a challenge. To him it was a challenge. So that's why it's not right, and it doesn't pay for us to start figuring out which mitzvah pays more. Then, in speaking about mitzvot, he says, there's also always the danger that a person may lose an opportunity to perform a mitzvah, or chas v'shalom, he may take an averah very lightly and he may fall for making the wrong calculation, for not understanding the severity of his maasim. So the Rabbi therefore tells us there's one more thing you need to know. There's a lot we need to know, but here's another very important piece of advice. Not only should you not calculate, there's one time where you do want to calculate, where calculation will actually be beneficial for you. Heveh mechashev. Chashev means calculate. Figure out, before you do something, what am I about to lose? What am I about to gain? This piece of advice will help you greatly in avoiding many, many averot, many pitfalls, many sins. And it will help you to go ahead and perform a mitzvah which you may have hesitated for whatever reason. I have this opportunity to do something good. What am I going to gain if I do it? What am I going to lose if I don't do it? An averah. Oh, I can do this. Chas v'shalom. What am I going to gain? A couple minutes, an hour or so of enjoyment. But what am I going to lose? Chas v'shalom if this is done. You know what happens in real life, however? Why is he telling this to us? Because people are impulsive. People act mitoch bzizut. People are not thinking enough. If people would think before every action they take, wait a minute, what am I going to gain? What are the pros and cons we say in English, right? Pros and cons. They do that about business. Sometimes investments. Oh, what's better? Put it in the savings, CD, lock it up for a couple years, buy mutual funds, buy real estate. What are the pros and cons of everything? That you think about. You don't think about that in mitzvot and averot. What a shame. This calculation or this thinking, this reflecting on the pros and cons of a mitzvah and averah is so helpful in doing the right thing. Because we want to do derech yeshara. We want to go on the right path. We want to do the right thing. What's a tool that will help me do the right thing? Be mechashev. This time he says, I'll let you calculate, but let you calculate the pros and cons of what you're about to do versus not to do. That, yes, not the value of a mitzvah, but whether you should do something or not do something altogether. That, yes. Why? Because you have a very big we all have a very big yetzer hara that tries to stop us, that tries to cool us off, tries to place doubts in our mind. This is a tool that we need that can help us. So Rabbi very, very much strongly advises us, before we do anything in life, but especially with mitzvot and averot, think. And if you stop to think and don't rush into do something and calculate the pros and cons, your decisions will be better. Now, from this statement, it may appear to someone that, wait a minute, yes, I'm going to do a mitzvah and I'm going to be rewarded, but on the other hand, and that's a gain, on the other hand, I'm going to have a loss from this mitzvah too, possibly. I'll miss a train, I'll miss a flight, some other loss will be incurred as a result of this good. Now what? What's insinuated, the rabbis tell us, the commentators explain, what's insinuating in these words is that there is no hefsed from mitzvot. In other words, haveh mechashev hefsed mitzvah. Think about what's going to happen if you lose the mitzvah versus that other loss that you think you might lose by performing the mitzvah. And you will see there is no such loss as you imagine it to be. In other words, there's no hefsed from doing a mitzvah. And I'll tell you two stories that I saw brought down about individuals who thought they lost out because of being good, and they really gained a lot more than they even imagined. There was a woman, an almanah widow, who used to bake 4 breads every day. 4 loaves of bread. And she used to give away 3 to people who were hungry and the needy, and she used to keep 1 for herself. One day was a really, really bad, I shouldn't say bad, a very busy day. Somebody came who hasn't eaten for a few days, she gave him a loaf of bread. Somebody just was very, very hungry, she gave him a piece of bread. The third one came, there was some other problem that he had and he couldn't afford to buy, and she gave him bread. Okay, she gave away 3. Now all of a sudden somebody knocks on his door again, and he was, he just arrived from out of town, he has no food, and he asked her for some food, and she gave him the 4th piece of bread. Okay, fine. What do you do now? You go to make some more. So she took her bag with seeds, and she went to the mill to grind the wheat, to make some more dough, to make some more bread. As she going, a big wind blew away her bag with her wheat. Blew it away. Now what? She says. Now she already is beginning to complain. Ribono shel olam, she says. I only did good today. I was even better today than other days. I gave away all the breads. How could you take away my bag? What could be the reason to take away my bag? So she was so upset, she went to the Bet Midrash to ask the Chachamim. Let's see if they can figure this one out. So the Chachamim are listening to her story, and as she's telling this story, a group of men come in with bags of money to give tzedakah to the yeshiva. What's the occasion of that tzedakah? It says, we were in great danger when we were at sea. We just arrived. A couple kilometers from the coast, there was a big storm all of a sudden, and because of the storm, a lot of water came into the boat, and one of the rooms was completely flooded. But thank God that the water just stayed in that room and didn't continue, because had it continued, the whole boat would have capsized. So as the water was coming in, we said, Hashem, if you make us a nest, we promise to give ma'aser of all our profits, of all the money we have here. And Baruch Hashem, the water only stayed in that location and did not continue to the rest of the boat. Okay, so that one room was flooded, at least they were saved. So we came to give you the neder, the tzedakah. So the Chachamim were very intrigued. And they said, tell me. He said, tell us, how is it possible that the water did not continue? I mean, obviously, there's a hole somewhere. That's how the water broke through. That's how the water infiltrated and went where it went. But it should have continued. What stopped it? Al pi derech hadana was naturally, don't you know what stopped it? He said, no, we never thought about it. Well, the boat is on the coast, right? Please do us a favor, go check it out. We're curious what made the water stop. They go to the boat, and they see in the hole where the water penetrated, they see a bag. They open up the bag, it's full of seasoned dough. It was the woman's bag that had flown away. Apparently it flew away and lodged itself into that hole and stopped the leak. So they came back and told the Chachamim, it's this bag. So the Chachamim asked the Almanah, do you recognize this? He says, of course, this is mine. He says, you see, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a miracle today. He took your bag to save these people, so all that money should come to you. So, did you lose or did you gain? You thought you did a good thing and you lost. You gained more than what you ever imagined. Second story happened in Tunisia a while ago. There was a very generous man who, this is very appropriate because it's right before Shavuot. He had a custom every year that he invited 10 Talmidei Chachamim to his home on Leil Shavuot, the night that everybody stays up, and they stood up a whole night in his home, and he took care of them. He paid for them, he fed them, and he hosted them. Very, very nice minhag. But unfortunately, hagalgali tapech, as we say in Hebrew, the wheel of fortune, unfortunately, turned over on him, and he went down. He was no longer that wealthy and could not afford to do what he used to do. This family, this couple did not even have food for the Chagim. That's how bad things were. So he approaches his wife, And he tells her, I guess you feel bad, right? You feel bad that we don't even have food for the Chagim. She says, no, I don't feel bad about that. We'll get along somehow. I feel bad that we cannot have those 10 Talmidei Chachamim as we do every year. So he says, yeah, you're a righteous woman. You're right. I also feel bad about that. So what are we going to do? He says, I have an idea. This woman tells her husband, I still have my gold earrings. Go and give them to the goldsmith or to the rich man in town as a pikadon, in other words, as a collateral, and borrow some money so we can have the Talmidei Chachamim again. Not for their food, for the Talmidei Chachamim. Okay. He went, redeemed, got some money, and as he's going to take care of the needs of the Chag and everything else and the Talmidei Chachamim, the rabbi of the community comes over to him as he used to every year. I need tzedakah for the poor, the people in town. The rabbi didn't know his situation. He didn't reveal it to him. He just gave him all that money. Here, take the money. And he felt terrible. Again, he's destitute. The money that he just redeemed from his wife's earrings, he'd give away too. What now? Not too much after that. I don't know if it was 5 minutes. I don't know if it was 2 minutes. It was very, very short after this. Somebody approaches him from the palace. One of the servants in the palace. I know you to be a broker. You're a broker. You buy and you sell. And I have a very important request of you, a favor. The king right now is in the mood of making Turkish coffee. I'm just saying. I'll tell you why I'm saying Turkish coffee, because he's in the mood of buying a set of those cups. Those little cups they use to serve the coffee, the Turkish coffee? Small cups. But he wants antique type. Not the regular ones they sell on the street. He wants antique. The ones that have an antique look to it. And there's nothing that we can find that comes close to it. We know that you have contacts, so perhaps you can go and find us some. And we'll pay you for it. Your commission. Okay. Great, that's a deal. He needs the money. But where is he going to find it? I don't know if it was 5 minutes after this, or maybe 10 or whatever, but very, very short after this guy left, somebody comes running to him, do me a favor. I have a whole container of these old little cups that nobody cares for, nobody wants, and I can't get rid of them. Maybe you have somebody that would want them. You see the shidduchim? And he says, of course, I'll take care of it. And of course, the rest of the story. He was able to sell it to the king and was rewarded for it immensely. And the king, of course, in finding out how this had happened, not only rewarded him, took care of his needs for the Chagim as well, sent food to the home. And when he was going home and he met up with the rabbi had already figured out what happened, that he gave away all his money. The rabbi tells him, so tell me, which money do you prefer? The money that you first had in your pocket that you gave me, or the money that you have now? which is a greater gain? Obviously not. It was worth giving away that money to get this greater gain. No hefsed from a mitzvah. These two stories, the two were righteous, the two were sincere, the two did beautiful mitzvot, even though it was difficult for them, and Hashem rewarded them. Not in Olam Haba. Some things are rewarded even in Olam Hazeh. And there are many stories like that. You see the Ashgaha, you see the divine providence involved in taking care of people, that there should not be, Chaz v'shalom, no one should ever think that there will be a hefsed, a loss from a mitzvah. However, let's go back to what we said before. Don't give away all your money either. You don't want to be penniless and rely on miracles. Who says they're going to make a miracle for you? Maybe people don't. Not everybody deserves a miracle. Rabbis therefore tell us, don't give more than 20%. Unless, of course, you're a billionaire, maybe you can give once in a while more. But otherwise, you have to be careful. There are very few exceptions. If a person wants kaparat avonot, to an atonement for sin, he's allowed to give more. There are situations where you can give more. But ordinarily, don't go to any extreme, including giving away all your money. So there's no loss. Rabbi said, there's no loss from doing a mitzvah. All right, and the last statement that he makes is a very, very important statement. I mean, they're all important, but this one is very, very relevant on a regular basis. ויסתכל בשלושה דברים ויהיה בא לידי עבירה. All right, we spoke about choosing the right path. We chose about calculating. We spoke about calculating your actions before you do them. All of that is not always enough to keep a person out of trouble. So now he's going to give us the punchline or the hammer. You want to know what's going to keep you out of trouble? All of what we said is important. הסתכל בשלושה דברים ויהיה אתה בא לידי עבירה. If you look and contemplate, reflect, the following three things on a regular basis, obviously, the chances are better than not that you will not come to sin. But remember, do this on a regular basis. What are they? דע מה למעלה ממך. Always remember who's on top of you, who's above you. And this Hashem, of course, who's above us, what does he do? Ayn ro'ah. These are the three things. Ayn ro'ah, ve'ozen shoma'at, ve'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nichtavim. This, the one who's above you, he's looking at you all the time. He hears what you have to say. And all that you do is being documented, recorded, will not be forgotten. Wow. This, if thought about, if reflected upon on a regular basis, will help a person greatly. This is preventive measures. This is a stop, a barrier, a very powerful barrier. If a person thinks about these things, wait a minute, everything I do is being observed at that moment. Everything I say is being heard at that moment. And all that I do and say and everything is being recorded? Oh no, right? So this is a deterrent. It's a strong deterrent. Will it help for sure? Guarantee 100%? No, nothing is guaranteed, as they say in this country, except for death and taxes. Nothing is guaranteed. But it says, Iyataba. In other words, you won't easily come to sin. The Gemara says, of course, that if the Yetzer Hara pursues you, you have to remind in the day of death. There's other things that you can focus on. There's other strategies. This one, Rabbi is telling us, if you really take it seriously on a regular basis, it will help you immensely. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this, on how this really works. There's this famous story with Baron Rothschild, who used to have a private room. I've told this story many times. One of the Rothschilds, the religious ones, who had a private room in his big house. Nobody was allowed to go into that room, not even the maid to clean. He would go into this room. He was a banker, very wealthy. He would go into this room almost every day and spend there about 20 minutes. Nobody knew what he did there. It was secret. There was once a big rabbi that came to collect some funds for his yeshiva. He knew Mr. Rothschild. They were close. And he says, Mr. Rothschild, I've heard so much about this. So come on, do me a favor. I'm your pal. Tell me, what do you do there? I mean, after all, there's a little bit of a curiosity here, and there's a hashash. Who knows what you've done? Share it with me. Rabbi, fine, with you, yes, as long as you don't tell anybody else while I'm alive. He says, fine, that's a promise. He took him to the room, opens the door, and in the middle of the room, there's a coffin. And there's a talit. And there's nerot, candles to light for neshama. There's tehillim. There's all the things that are associated with death in that room, that the Chevra Kadisha takes care of, repairs. He says, what's this in this room? He says, every day I come into this room, I look at all of this, and I imagine myself being covered up with tachrichim, with the shrouds, by the way, there were shrouds there too, and putting me into this coffin, lighting the candles, saying Tehillim and Kaddish for me. I imagine all of this when I look at this. And you know what, Rabbi? When I come out of that room after 20 minutes, I'm a totally changed man, much more humble. When I'm in the bank, money is all over the place. I'm the big boss. I'm the big guy. I need this. This is my medicine. This reminds me of the tachlit, the purpose of life. This humbles me. Wow. Yes, People need to be humble somehow. People need reminders. And that's exactly what he's talking about over here. These three things that are mentioned over here, Ain Ro'ah, Ve'ozen Shomah, Ve'chol Ma'asech B'Sefer Nichtavim, also correspond to Machshava, Dibur, and Ma'aseh. All the actions that we take. We take action through our thoughts. In other words, we do things with our thoughts, good or bad. We speak, good or bad, Dibur, and Ma'aseh, deeds, good or bad. So Ain Ro'ah, the eye sees all our machshavot. It is aware of all our, even of our thoughts. Ozen Shomat, the ear hears, even what every word that we say. In all our deeds are documented. In other words, all our ma'asim, machshavat, dibur, ma'aseh, are being recorded. So we see how Hashem is aware of everything that's going on in our life. So why is this so necessary? The reason why this is so necessary is because, unfortunately, what we said before, people do not stop to think enough about everything about life. They think they're going to live on forever. They think nothing's going to happen to them. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong between here and our homes. Hashem yishmor, chaz v'shalom. Anything. Person goes to sleep, does he know for sure he's going to wake up? No, nothing is guaranteed. I mean, we are in Hashem's hands and His mercy. I mean, He's Baruch Hashem, benevolent, gracious, gave us life. But in the same way He gives it, He takes us, chaz v'shalom. It should be after 120. And everybody should have a good, long life and a healthy life. But unfortunately, the reality is not always like that with everyone. But people don't stop to think about it. Unless they go to a hospital, perhaps, and they see sick people, they attend a funeral. Oh, it's supposed to wake them. And that's what they go to a house of mourning, right? That's what part of the. It's not only to make the guy feel good. It's for those of us who are attending to come. It's for us to remember that this is the end of all men and of all human beings, right? So we need the reminder. Without this reminder, it is unfortunately very easy for a person to make mistakes and to fall in the trap of the Yetzer Hara. Yetzer Hara sets up traps. Imagine you're told this is a minefield. There are mines. The Yetzer Hara puts up minefields. Yes, now Baruch Hashem, if we don't look for trouble, then Hashem will guide us away from the minefields. But if a person is not cognizant of his maasim, he doesn't care so much, Hashem doesn't protect him so much. And if we don't have Hashem's protection, for one moment, it's very easily to fall in the trap of the Yetzer Hara. So what happens eventually is that from doing little things, the Yetzer Hara drags us to do more serious things. If we don't stop, if we don't think about what's happening, if we don't take life seriously. What happens after the serious things take place? Then the individual becomes a slave of the Yetzer Hara. What's a slave? He no longer is nichshal. Nichshal means to fall. Oh, I didn't see. Oh, I made a mistake. It was unintentional. When a person becomes a slave of the Yetzer, it's no longer unintentional. It's no longer that he fell, that he tripped. He's a slave. The word for slave in today's jargon is addiction. We use the word addiction with gambling, with drugs, and with alcohol. But there's an addiction to Avot too, or to Avot, to all kinds of desires and prohibited things. So when a person continues on, does not stop, does not reflect, there's the danger that chas v'shalom, he will become addicted and become a slave of the Yetzer Hara. And that is what the rabbis tell us. In the very beginning, the Yetzer Hara is only like cobweb. Cobweb, I think that's the way you say it in English, spider web, right?
Cobweb.
Cobweb?
Cobweb.
Cobweb? Cobweb? Yeah. All right. What's that? You take a broom and you just clean it and it's gone. It's not that strong. But if you let the Yetzer Hara intensify, he eventually becomes as thick as the ropes of a wagon. The ropes that hold a wagon are very, very thick. Go tear that up. You can't. Becomes very, very strong, tight, difficult to deal with. One of my favorite psukim in Mishlei is towards the end of Mishlei. Shlomo Melech reminds us about this Yetzer Hara in another way. He says, be careful with this Yetzer Hara, for the following reason. He says, "Mefanek mino aravdo v'acharito yemanon." Whoever is mefanek means to spoil. If you spoil your eved, your servant, from early on, he eventually will be your master. He'll tell you what to do. People make this mistake with their workers. They spoil them. They let them do what they want. They don't tell them. You're spoiling them. If you spoil your worker, your servant, early on, you'll see eventually they'll tell you what to do. They'll be your master. Mefanek min no'ar avdo, who's your eved? The Yetzirah. If you're in control, you're the master, he's your eved. But if you spoil him and you let him get away with it, and you don't stop him, eventually, v'achrito yem manon. Manon is master. He will be your master. Don't spoil your Yetzer. Always make sure we are always reflecting on our ma'asim, right or wrong, so that we should not come to that chas v'shalom later on. This last statement, that by the way, I think it was the Chafetz Chaim that said, we can see it already that this is all true. Ain ro'ah ve'ozen shomat. Satellites. He wasn't speaking about satellites per se, but we see it today. A satellite from thousands of miles can see certain things on this earth. The closer satellites can even read a license plate from a distance. Yes, from a few hundred miles, they can read a license plate. If these things can see, you think Hashem cannot see? Come on. Or ways of hearing. I mean, that is wireless technology. You can hear, you can see. Incredible. And to record on your computer hard drive, on a tape recorder, there's so many ways to record voices. Years ago, how would you record? There was no way of recording. Today we can see from all the technologies that if human beings are capable of producing this kind of technology that can see, that can hear, that can record, Kol Sheken HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who made these human beings. You don't need the Japanese. I mean, you can see. I mean, that this is obvious that this is what's going on. Anyway, everything is recorded. In psychology, they say that the human being himself records all of his experiences in his brain and in his heart, even though he forgot about it. It's recorded. And when people come for help, for therapy, that they're going through all kinds of depressions and all kinds of problems, a good therapist knows how to bring out these buried memories in the heart and in the head. And that bringing out those memories is actually part of the therapy. Getting it out, cleaning up the system. There's stuff that's buried there from the past that they forgot, they can't think about it. But the good therapist knows how to bring it out, and by bringing them out, he releases them from these subconscious bad memories. It's recorded. Everything is recorded, even in the human being, and of course eventually he's going to have to give an accounting for everything that he's done or said and saw. There's a story of, I think it was with the Chafetz Chaim too, there's a story of the rabbi that was once traveling in a wagon, and all of a sudden the wagon stops, and he tells Rabbi, I want to go get some fruit that's growing over there for the road. If anybody sees me, let me know quickly. So he didn't want to be caught. So he went, and as soon as he went a little bit, the rabbi calls him, quick, come, somebody's looking. So he ran back immediately. He says, thank God you told me. Who was looking? He says, Hashem. We're looking, we don't want people to see, we don't want people to know. But what about him? He already knows and he sees. That we forget about. So because of that, we are continuously reminded by David HaMelech, Shiviti Hashem lenigdi tamid. That's what David HaMelech says. You know why? You know how I succeeded the best in protecting myself from making grave mistakes and sinning, chas v'shalom, is I tried my best to place Hashem before me all the time. Hashem is in front of me. Shiviti Hashem, I put Hashem before me constantly. This is, the Rabbi says, a klal gadol b'Torah. It's a very important klal to be able to continuously serve Hashem, to be able to grow in Yirat Shamayim, to be able to be strong against the Yetzer. This is a klal gadol. It's a very important rule. Why is it such an important rule? Because the rabbis tell us that there's a big difference if you're working and your boss is present looking at your work, or the boss is on vacation for 2 weeks. You think the employee is going to work the same if the boss is gone or if the boss is there looking at it? Of course not. There's a big difference if the boss is present. There's a big difference if man is aware at the time he does something, if Hashem is looking at him or not. So therefore we need to awaken ourselves to this fact of Shivit Hashem Tamid. In one of the ways I think that can help this awareness is not just about learning these things, but by saying those words. Saying the words Shivit Hashem Tamid. There's a certain segula, there's a certain koach and energy to saying these words. Not just to read it, not just to know it. We know it, but we forget. How do you reflect? How do you stop yourself? How do you focus properly? Say the words Shivit Hashem Tamid. And if you really mean it, obviously, if you're sincere about it, then hopefully this will be a very powerful tool to keep us focused on doing the right things. Thank you.